at is improving student engagement, and we've been lucky enough to be part of the KVEC group for this year. We are not originally within this region. We're actually in South Central Kentucky. So you'll kind of see through here that this is one of the first times that we've experienced going through kind of this problem of practice. And of course, working with student engagement was one of our main focus. Might move. One of the models or the tools that they gave us to use by being part of the ACT group was, of course, this process to where we had to look at kind of our needs assessment. We kind of looked at our theory of what we wanted to build on, looking at individual teacher theories of what they wanted to look at within their classrooms, and then do that as an entire school or as an entire group. So this was kind of the ACT model that they gave us at the beginning of the year as we kind of have been learning this process for this past school year. Can I click it or will it?
If you want me to, I can.
Okay. Some of the needs assessments that we looked at, of course, was looking at from our leadership team. We tried to bring in our departmental PLCs, and then, of course, we brought in a lot of student groups as well, doing surveys with them to see what type of engagement was taking place in the classroom. And what we really learned was a lot of times that we were having engagement, but it was very passive engagement. It was not active engagement. So that was one of the things of why we needed to focus on improving that student engagement. Several meetings that we held. Of course, you have kind of your student groups and your councils and ambassador groups. We didn't really have that set up within our school, and we've been kind of utilizing that more this year and probably going to look at utilizing that more in the future. Ongoing assessment, of course, is occurring as we go through, and of course, revision. Other things that we had to look at when we created the problem was the active engagement. That was the key point that we wanted to make sure that we emphasized throughout the school and with our teachers as they were looking at different instructional strategies and learning strategies for our students. So with that, we wanted to create a school-wide system of high-yield instructional strategies, again, that was very active and actively engaging our students. Persist? Uh-oh, I went back, I think. Or did I? No, that's right. The assessments, of course, when we looked at those, again, looking at different assessments for our students, we also looked at some of the things as far as what did we have that was a resource within the school. So we wanted to look at our teachers, looking at who was very successful, who was using some of these instructional strategies that we could implement into other classrooms. Also coaching protocols and setting that up within our PLCs and departments. And then also looking at who our new faculty was that was coming in, new teachers, and helping them to acquire these skills to be successful with instructional strategies. I'm going to let you click it. That work. Some of the levers or groups that we brought in, of course, is our community partners. We also looked at our district as a whole, our Board of Education, our superintendent, and then, of course, what was I going to provide and then what was teachers going to provide as well within the actual classroom. So we've used a lot of different resources that we have and then groups that we brought in to help us to kind of implement some of the changes. Partners that we brought in, of course, was different groups, but some of the things that they could offer us, of course, was the shareholders within our community. This could be businesses, it could be the Board of Education. We also are working with KVEC, and again, we're not originally from this particular region, but we were invited to kind of participate in this. We used the pedal visits, and then also we worked with KVEC and other groups to set up school visits around Kentucky. So we've been sending our teachers out into other schools that are proficient, distinguished, that are using high-yield instructional strategies. The district itself, as far as the Board of Education and our superintendent, some of the things that we were looking at was to help us with like PD, helping our teachers to go out, learn these skills. If we needed to do these high-yield instructional strategies to actively engage students, then our teachers needed to be trained to where they could bring those skills back and maybe teach other groups, helping to promote positive environments within the school. When we talked to our student groups, some of the things was not only that, when we're in the classroom, we're just sitting there and we're listening, but is this a real inviting environment and a place that they wanted to be? So that was one of the things, again, to create this positive environment for our students within the school itself, not just within the classrooms. As the principal, of course, opportunities for the school visits, I had to kind of set those up. And of course, look to see who the model schools would be. Provide the time or space and the opportunities for the learning strategies to take place, where exactly they were going to do those. So if they were going to do those in their departmental meetings, if they were going to do those in their PLCs, we wanted to continue to survey teachers throughout the year and then also students as well. So that's something that's been an ongoing thing, assessing them, whether it's been on paper or whether it's just been sitting down with a group of teachers or students and talking to them to see how things have been going and what kind of changes that we needed to create as we moved forward. The Petal and Elliott formats, we've been using those for our walkthroughs. Those are two new things for us that we had not used in the past. And of course, that helps us to identify what learning strategies are being used. And then also, what can we do to improve? Both of those focus on student engagement in various areas. We are also providing opportunities for coaching. And coaching is to where it's either myself or an instructional leader for a department, and they are using those coaching tools for like our new teachers that we've just brought in to ensure that they're getting those new instructional strategies. As the teachers, some of the things when we did their individual theories of action, they wanted to go out and see and visit more schools. Some of the schools, of course, again, we've looked at a little bit closer to our region, but we have also talked and kind of communicated a lot with different schools within this region as well. We've been collecting, preparing, and displaying our students' work throughout our halls and trying to make it more of an inviting place for them to be. We've been taking the data and, of course, interpreting that, whether it be a standardized test, a teacher-created exam, or whatever, but trying to take those instruments or data and then modify our instruction and then share those instructional strategies that are working within our classrooms. We also wanted to use the instructional coaches as well. And then, of course, actively, if you're a teacher and you're going out to these PDs, then actively bring back that information and share that with other groups or other departments within the school. Short-term goals, of course, was to share the instructional strategies to actively engage students. And again, this could be hands-on type projects. It could be project-based things that we were using. But again, we were trying to encourage that to be used within the classrooms. We also used a lot of data for tracking students' progress for the instructional improvements, and that's an ongoing process. It's not something that is just taking place, at this point, and then we've ended that and then moved on to something else. So this has been an ongoing piece that's been throughout the year. Another thing was to use our departments or our PLCs, leadership teams to improve shared instructional strategies. And again, it's active engagement and not just this passive engagement that we wanted to see within the classrooms. Long-term goal, of course, is that we wanted a positive culture for our students and teachers, which would lead to the use of high-yield instructional strategies that actively engage students in their own learning to improve student achievement. This is an ongoing goal to use and, of course, hopefully to achieve later as we kind of work towards that. Some of the activities and things that we've been doing: we met with our focus groups, we've met with our departments, we've met with our student groups, we've talked about culture. We've also talked a lot about attendance, because if the kids are very actively engaged, then a lot of times their achievement will go up, and then also attendance. They want to be at school. So if there's things that they enjoy doing. Teachers, of course, are visiting and have went to other high-performing schools within our region. KVEC has completed several site visits and came into the school and gave suggestions on this is what is occurring, here's how we could improve, and this is where we need to move forward to. We've also had the Elliott observation, which is the effective learning environment observation tool used. That is with a Gear Up program that we have, and they have come in. And again, looking for student engagement, what are they seeing? And when you have two different types of instruments that's being used and they're seeing the identical same thing, then if you know that student engagement is very passive in your school, then you need to kind of focus on how can we move that forward with more engagement. as far as active engagement. We've completed more walkthroughs in the classrooms, trying to be in the classrooms, whether it's in a more formal sense to where there's some kind of written form, or whether it's just a walkthrough for just a couple of minutes to walk through to see what's exactly going on. Again, teachers know that I'm looking for active engagement compared to that passive engagement. We've been sharing our instructional strategies within departments, and that has been very successful because I'll even have teachers to email, hey, here's a site that has some instructional strategies on it. So we're sharing a lot of that throughout our school, and that was not taking place before. Teachers who were doing very well did very well. Students loved those classes. They were actively engaged, but it seemed like it was confined to that one teacher. Now they're sharing out those strategies and using that, and we're trying to create a more positive culture with our teachers of sharing, to where teachers are using their department head and department heads to kind of help to guide this practice of sharing this information. Reviewing data, of course, we've been using our MAPS exams. We did that in the fall, and we did that in the winter, and then, of course, we're doing currently this week, they are doing our spring MAPS test. We've used a lot of teacher assessments. We did a pre-ACT through Torch Prep, and then just trying to create improvements within our departments by looking at that data and analyzing data to see how are students doing and are they actively engaged. Recognizing student achievements within the school, we've tried to do more of that. Again, the students said that the school was not interesting, it was not an inviting place, so we've tried to create some walls. Each hallway, of course, is kind of designated towards a grade level, and they've been able to kind of decorate that in themes. Here lately we had an attendance theme, so they had to put up some posters, and so it's become maybe a little bit more competitive between grade levels on their attendance and things like that, or just winning some of the rewards or recognition for that grade level. We've also used another wall for, there's like pictures of perfect attendance for each month. We've been using that. And just randomly we have taken pictures and put them in the main hallway there, to where students have been in classrooms and doing what students are doing, working in classrooms, whether it's been reading or it's been in the ag greenhouse or whatever. And we've got some frames and things, and we've put those up for this year, and then basically changing them throughout the year. We've been using our Facebook page to promote the school and recognizing the achievements of our students and also of the school. And then we've redesigned some of our classrooms. If you've been in a traditional school, typically all of your seats are in one row. We have started changing some of those. We've asked teachers to kind of change their classrooms to where they're more grouped together, or to where it's not just individual desks. We have some teachers have asked for tables to be grouped certain ways. So we've been just making some redesign as far as the classrooms themselves, hopefully in promoting more active engagement. Last slide that we have is, of course, breaking down the assessment data from our ACT, which, of course, was just taken recently last month. We hope to get some kind of feedback on our field test and EOCs this year, but we're not really for sure what information we'll get back on those. But we're looking at our fall and spring maps currently as we finish up with those to see kind of placements for students, and has there been any improvement as far as scores as they have went through the year. Continuing to share and build on those instructional strategies, continue to train more departmental leaders for coaching, and then, of course, continuing to assess and revise the plans of improvement. It's an ongoing process. We don't just stop once, do this, and then that fixes all of our problems, but it has to be something that is ongoing and continuous. And again, continuing to redesign the classrooms. We want the student engagement, making sure that those groups are put together, and moving those classrooms around. Student engagement, of course, and just some pictures that we put up here, I think. We've done some student recognition. We fed them some Sundays one afternoon for attendance that month that they had achieved, and it was one of our grade levels. So we recognized them for attendance, again, trying to create that more inviting culture for our students. Other things, again, this was when they decorated some of their halls at Christmas, of course, putting up Christmas trees, perfect attendance walls for students for perfect attendance during various months. Looking at individual work, as you notice when you walk into classrooms, we have a lot of individual work that has been posted up on the walls and things like that. Again, creating that student pride within those classrooms. Group work, again, reorganizing some of those classrooms to where it's not the traditional classroom, to where you have seats and just a desk sitting there and they're all in rows, but trying to remove those to where you have a lot of active engagement that's taking place within groups, teamwork, things of that nature. Computer work, one of the things that we did not have a lot of until the last couple of years has been Chromebooks. So we've been using a lot of that. Students seem to really enjoy working with computers. And again, it depends whether they're in groups or whether they're individual. And then, of course, displaying student work throughout, depending on one of these projects here was like a geometric project, and they were using string. Again, it's using those hands-on activities. Various activities throughout the building is taking place to where the students are not just sitting and listening, but really doing things with various subjects. So. And of course, we have to put in, of course, some of the teacher engagement that's taking place. We've had them to, of course, do some of the group work themselves instead of just doing a faculty meeting and I sitting there and talking to them the entire time. I've given them topics and let them come up with some of the areas to where they have a voice, to where they're creating some of the problems or taking a problem and solving that problem, and then, of course, presenting that to the group itself. So we've been working with some of that as well, to where they're taking some of the actual strategies. We're doing it in our faculty meetings, and then they're in turn using those in their classroom. So, and I think that's about it. Are there any questions?